It's about, I think maybe 12:30, 10th of July 2018. I'm coming from you from my children's playroom in the Blue Mountains. It's quite a chilly day today. Chilly day, and it's going to be the last sunny day I think that we'll have for a while. It's beautiful and bright outside, but just really frosty. I don't know if I said my name's Lisa. I have uploaded an introduction video, which was, is what it is. Promised my son that I'd actually wear clothes today. Not that I was naked, but I was kind of half dressed and in my pajamas, and yeah, could have done a better job, but yeah, I'm a kind of a no frills person, and anyway, let's get on with it. So this is primarily a knitting podcast. I'm also a crocheter and a seamstress, and do lots of other different crafty things as well. I'm a mum of 5. I've got 5 children from the ages of 22 down to 4 months old, and I'm currently on maternity leave, and I don't have a knit community. So that's why I decided to do this. So I have a local yarn shop that I pop into every few weeks, and the ladies there are just lovely. It's the Wool Inn in Penrith. It's a great little space, very friendly, helpful staff, and a wide range of products and things available, which has been great in kind of that stepping stone for me from coming from crocheting to knitting and getting to experience lots of new yarn and tools and things like that. So yeah, they're a great resource for me, but I essentially do not have anyone around me that really knits other than my mother-in-law, and we have a lovely relationship, but it's just a generational thing where a lot of the podcasts that I watch that I have learnt from online are American, and she has a very English methodology of the way that she does things and processes. So sometimes I think the terminology that I've learnt, whether or not it's used widely in Australia, I don't know, because like I said, I don't really know any other people that knit around me. I think I tend to confuse my mother-in-law, God love her. She's very helpful when I do get stuck. So yeah, anyhow, so I'll get cracking. So when I did my introduction video, it was just really why I wanted to get started, and there is an emphasis in my life on mental wellness and mindfulness and craft as a conduit for me to kind of navigate those waters when I'm just conscious of the light on my glasses because I'm facing the windows, but it's the only room that we kind of have in this house. I think that's a bit better. The only room that we have in our house that has a lot of natural light. Stinking hot in the summer in this room and bitterly cold in the winter, but it's also, I don't think this room is insulated, I don't think the roof is insulated. So anyway, that was a bit of a going off on a tangent. Yep, so just wanted to say that there is an emphasis for me on including mindfulness and mental wellness within my crafting experiences. So I'm primarily a crocheter. I've crocheted since I was 8. I'm turning 43 next week, so it's a long time of crocheting, and I have to say that's been pretty consistent crocheting. Excuse me, a bit of a coffee to warm me up. I started knitting 14 months ago. I really wanted to make garments for myself. Knitted garments for myself, and I wanted to make woolen or yarny garments for myself, but didn't particularly like the look of crocheted garments. And each to their own. There are some people who would really prefer crochet over knitted, and vice versa, and I'm not here to kind of put a wedge between knitters and crocheters by any means, but for me, I wanted to wear knitted garments. So that meant I either had to pay hundreds of dollars for garments that were for sale in stores and boutiques, or I needed to learn to knit. So I started watching podcasts and fell headfirst into the black hole of sock knitting once I saw socks on podcasts. I mentioned briefly yesterday that the Knitting Expat was one of the first ones that I saw, and she, you know, really, when I saw knitted socks, I was like, wow, I really want to do that. And then I think I quickly started, soon after that, started watching the Yarn Hoarder, and her sock knitting as well, you know, was just blew my mind, and it was something I was just, you know, losing sleep over because I couldn't stop thinking about, and I really just wanted to do. So anyway, I just have a few bits and pieces that I've kind of completed just recently. I mentioned that I have a 2-year-old who is obsessed with hats, and with orange hats at that. So I've just brought a few of these little hats that I've made him recently. This one probably needs a good de-pilling because he wears this, so he goes to daycare twice a week, and he wears this as part of his everyday thing. It's just I don't know, I guess it's just a broken rib beanie. He loves it, and he loves this colour. I cannot remember I can. This one was Vocabulary Yarns, and I think I got it in a knit. I used to subscribe to Knit Crate, you know, a year and a half ago, and I think this it was. This was a yarn that came in Knit Crate one month. So it's listed as being an Aran weight. It's 100% superwash merino. It is really, 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 really soft. I think it's called Cora something. I can't remember. Cora something. I apologise for that. Let me have a look. No, I can't think what it was. Sorry, I thought I might have written it down, but I didn't. Anyway, it's beautiful. It's got gorgeous kind of grapefruity, you know, pinks and oranges, and it's just lovely. His favourite colour. Anyway, so I've made him a few 100% superwash, you know, merino hats for school. A couple got felted accidentally by my husband. He put them through the dryer without me thinking to tell him, you know, that they were in his dirty washing and they need to be separated. So my son wanted another orange hat, which I've made him, and I can't find it. He may have it in his bag. He's at daycare today. He may have it in his bag and has taken it with him today. So there's that one. So then I decided that I was going to get just some acrylic yarn for him, or some acrylic blend yarn for him for school, because wearing those hats to school, I guess it's a catch-22, because wearing them regularly, they're going to need washing because they can get a bit smelly, the acrylic hats. I went to my local, I guess it's big box, like a craft and fabric and yarn provider, which is called Spotlight here in Australia, and bought these Karen cupcake cakes, I guess. It's just 100% acrylic. It's just DK weight, and they just stripe. They have like a wide stripe effect on them. I can't explain it very well. That's what they kind of stripe up like that. So, and they come with a pom-pom. So I bought 2 of these, just a pink one for my little girl, which I haven't done her hat yet because the ones I've made her have been fine, and she probably won't need a bigger hat until next year. And I think a pom-pom might be too much for a 4-month-old baby. So I made one for him, which was in oranges and blues, and it's the one I just can't find it. So either he's left it at daycare, or I don't know, maybe it's kicking around the back of the car. So then I made him this one, which doesn't have, it wasn't a pattern, and it was just something I came up with. It's a bit kind of, you know, it's acrylic, so it doesn't keep it, it just doesn't have any memory, really. It kind of is what it is. It's flat, and it's that. So it's so I just used an acrylic. I think it was like an oatmeal Bernat Super Saver, you know, like a worsted weight, I think it was. Or in Australia here we would call that an 8 to 10 ply. So, and then I've just did some little colour work patterns on that, and then he chose, so when he came home from school, I had done the hat and I hadn't done the pom-pom. I was waiting for him to come and tell me what colour pom-pom he wanted on his hat. But he came home thinking he was getting an orange hat, and he got a hat with a couple of orange blips here. Oh, and I've just noticed. So he wears this to daycare, and I have just noticed that there's been some bleeding on the oatmeal there from the orange. It's interesting. Anyhow, it's the only place I can see that. He came home and he was quite upset that I had put blue in his hat and it wasn't orange. And you know, he's come to terms with it and chose some orange yarn for his pom pom, which made him feel a little bit better. So orange hats are the rage in a 2.5-year-old's world. Okay, so some other little things that I've I guess finished objects, things that I've made was I made my daughter a flax by Tin Can Knit. And I've made a couple of these. They were the first kind of, I think they're an excellent attempt at jumper, like if you want to make a jumper, the first jumper to make. So this is one that I made for my daughter, and I cannot remember or find the band for the purple yarn, and there's some serious pulling going on, but that doesn't bother me, and I knew that it would happen. So I decided to stripe. So this is a Tanis Fibre Arts Pure Wash. I think the colourway was Iris, and it was just so pretty. Actually, both of these, pretty sure both of these came in a knit crate sometime last year or the year before, I can't remember. It is so soft and so beautiful, and was bigger than this. So this was shrunk in the dryer, unfortunately. And somehow, because I'm fairly sure, so the colourway for the purple was called Daenerys Eyes, which was a reference to the Game of Thrones. Sorry for scratching my nose, but I can't remember any of the details about it, and I have a feeling it was non-superwash due to the fact that it has shrunk, and I'm not sure. We don't have heat setting on our dryers that I've noticed here in Australia. They tend to just be, you set them for 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 120 minutes or auto, and we put ours on auto. So what that does is it just dries until it can detect no more humidity within the tub, and I think that's maybe the hottest setting. So it's shrunk, she's worn it once, and there's no way my little chubby bubby is going to fit in that again. So I'll just put it away for a keepsake. And what I had done on that was I had done some slip stitching on the every second of the coloured rose. Oh, it's not really showing up. Which was, it kind of really stood out and popped when I had first made the jumper. But now that it has kind of shrunk, and I don't know how it is, it hasn't felt it, it's just shrunk. That's kind of disappeared into the background, which is a shame, because they really stood out, and I just love it. It's so soft. I do have still have like a skein and a half of the Iris colourway, and I have a whole skein of the Daenerys Eyes. So I could probably make her another one in a bigger size, but we're going to be going in. We've only got about 6 weeks worth of cool weather left before we start warming up again, and we have fairly warm springtime here in the mountains. So the Blue Mountains is at the very boundary of Sydney, so Western Sydney. Sydney itself, the metropolitan Sydney, is pretty big. It's really a large city and surrounding suburbs. So I think I'm about 75 k's from the city. I think. I don't know. I think. And we're at the boundary. So the Blue Mountains is a completely different area. We're not part of the Sydney Metropolitan. We're actually a national park. So yeah, we're quite fortunate to live here. But it gets quite warm from the springtime onwards. So pretty much from the beginning of October. So spring for us starts September 1st and goes through to November 30th, and summer starts in December. But it's hot by mid to early to mid October. We're starting to get back up into those 30s temperatures. So summertime here for us, summer just gone, we had lots and lots of days above 40 degrees, and that's quite normal for us. It gets really hot. Yeah, and we live, like I said, in the national park, so we have lots and lots of wildlife like snakes and things like that we've only ever had one snake on our property, and I'm totally going off on a tangent, but I just wanted to kind of say, temperature wise, our knitwear period is really short. So they're I've got to have them. I've got to have things pre-thought and then I guess made prior to the season starting. It's no point in making stuff while we're in the middle of the season because the kids just won't get wet, which is wonderful to see them in things, but a bit frantic when, you know, you don't really want to be knitting with wool while it's in the 40 degrees just to have that preparation. Because it's not just me, it's my my 4-month-old Caitlin and my 2.5-year-old Ewan, who I'm happy to put hand knit stuff on. My 17-year-old son is desperate for a Ron Weasley jumper from Harry Potter, and I have promised him one for next winter, so it's going to be fun. And my husband, he doesn't really wear, like, he's a personal trainer. Most of the time he's in kind of active wear stuff, and when he's not, he's in his office, and when we go out he kind of has his own style of dressing, and it doesn't really include knitwear. So I'm hopefully going to wear him down and get him in something at some point. So that's just 3 objects that I have, I guess finished objects. They're finished, but they're not recently finished. I have like a gazillion works in process, lots and lots, and I kind of sorted through some things. I've got a craft room that's full of works in progress, and then the ones that I'm working on currently I've brought up into the house upstairs so I can have them close by and work on them as I want, so which is good. So the first one that I want to talk about, excuse me, I have just had lasagna for lunch and it's trying to make a reappearance, which is not very tactful. Okay, sorry. So I am working on the Beekeeper cardigan by Marie Green. Now I've only just started and it's probably really not even worth showing, but I wanted to first of all show off this absolutely gorgeous yarn. So I think that is pretty true. Yes. So that is just beautiful, beautiful. So this is Lolo did its whole load of DK, and the colorway is Blackberry Jam, and it is divine. It is the depth of color in this skein is, you know, just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. So I had a fantasy a while ago about doing some yarn dyeing, and then started getting some handmade stuff and was like, nah, forget it. There's no way I'm going to be able to do that. That's, you know, or anything close to that. That's gorgeous. So that's the colorway. This is the teeny tiny little cast on that I've done. I've only done to the first check-in. So this is done in a reverse stockinette. But the color. This is not normally a color that I would go for, but it is just awesome. So this cardigan, oh my word, I tell you, it has the most awesome pattern. So these little tiny bees are formed within the reverse stockinette. So I am not a swatcher. I do not swatch, and it is just so soft. I don't swatch, and I guess I don't swatch because being a crocheter for so long, like, I knew my tension, and if I was making garments, I'd never ever had an issue with not making, you know, not meeting gauge. So, and I just made the assumption that I would have the same ease with knitting, and that is not the case. So I did the gauge, the swatch for the pattern. I wanted to practice the pattern before I jumped into making it, because if I was going to, because I'm only a new knitter, if I was going to struggle with the pattern, with making those little bees, then I was going to look for another DK pattern that was more simplified, and so I could utilize the yarn and not waste, because the Australian dollar at the moment is absolute rubbish. I think we're at 73 cents against the American dollar. So buying anything from the US, and with postage, and we now in Australia have to pay tax, general services tax, against items that we purchase online overseas. So that's, I think, came in July 1st, and we haven't had to do that before. If we buy anything within Australia, we have to pay goods and services. but we're now having to pay it for any item that we buy online. So, which is heartbreaking, because I do buy a bit of Lauren's yarns, or have in the past, and haven't because of the dollar. But I had to have this yarn. I had to have this yarn, and I was actually going to get this yarn in her colorway, either Hello Gorgeous or Look at the Flowers Lizzie. And then I looked at the Dowager Countess, but then it was the dollar that made me kind of go, Lisa, you can't get all of that. I think I had probably about 8 or 9 skeins in my cart at one stage of different things that I wanted, and then had to pull them out, you know, forget about it. And I got a bit confused late at night or early in the morning. It was during a breastfeeding session with my baby that, I mean, oh, look at that little blip in there. It's just beautiful. And I tried to put it in my cart, and I settled I was just going to get the Hello Gorgeous, which is this beautiful tonal pinks, and it's heavenly, just love it. But I couldn't work it out, and I saw that she had the Blackberry Jam ready to ship, and I was like, I'm having that, because I know that's a colourway that she says on her website she only does a couple of times a year because of the complexity and the layering of the colours. So I was having that. Not normally a colour I'd wear, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see what it looks like. Okay, so that's the Beekeeper cardigan by Marie Grant, if I said that. I would love to say I'd put up a picture here. The next thing I have is a bit of a Frankenstein, in that I didn't have the right weight yarn for the project. Now, the reason I didn't have the correct weight was because it's worsted, and as I mentioned before, our knitwear period here in Australia is only really small, and worsted weight's a bit too heavy to be wearing. So DK and sport weight are generally kind of what I would buy anyway for garments. So this is this is a Tin Can Knits pattern, and it's the Harvest cardigan. Sorry, I've got mohair in my mouth. And so this is a cardigan for home, really. So for when I'm up feeding at night and things like that, feeding Caitlin. So I have used not only several different yarns and bases, but also weights, which is a huge no-no, I know, but I really wanted to get my teeth into doing a proper size garment for myself. So this is the Tin Can Knits Harvest cardigan. It's I don't know. It's exactly the kind of thing that I can just get out of bed, throw on, feed the baby, run to daycare, pick up my, those kinds of things where I do. And I can't believe I did this, but I was not going to undo it. So it's a provisional cast on collar, and I was probably 15 rows down past this when I noticed I didn't purl on the right side of my way back. So what I am going to do is actually tack back the collar a little anyway, so tack that back, and it's not going to be a big deal. But it's basically all those ends. So I have put a buttonhole in mine, so I can just chuck a button on, I've got the perfect button for it too. Chuck a button in there, and it's cropped. So in the pattern it does come, I guess, a normal cardigan length, but because I'm only 5 foot and diminutive in terms of height and my torso length, I try and do things. Sorry, I've got myself tangled up. The pleasure with making things for yourself is that you can have them at whatever length and modifications you want that suit you for your needs. So it actually sits, I guess it would sit on just at the waistband of my pants. So exactly where I want it, where it doesn't accentuate anything more than it needs to. The next thing that I have, sorry, I just got stuck on the floor here. The next thing that I have, I contemplated not actually pulling it out because I'm not sure whether I'm going to pull it, actually frog the whole thing and start again for two reasons. The first is I picked it up out of the bag that it was in a few weeks back. I was moving stuff down to my craft room. My lounge room was such a mess with stuff. I had wool everywhere, and we live in a small home, and it's not a large house, and my son Ewan, he plays in the lounge room quite a lot. We spend most of our time in the lounge room playing, watching television. So I had to move everything out of there just to give him freedom, because it was just like, oh, don't touch mummy's knitting, and So when I picked it up out of the bag, I actually I've dropped a whole heap of stitches off the needle, and it's short rows. So this is a Continua by Lisa Much. So I dropped it, and I've dropped a whole heap of stitches, and it's in the short row section. So that's enough to make me want to at least pull it back. So I'm on the second section, at least to pull it back, so I can try and salvage where I'm at, because it's kind of, it's not great. But anyway, so that's one factor. The other is, I don't think I actually like the fabric I'm getting on the size 5mm needle. It's loose, and I'm not typically a loose knitter, but it is loosey goosey, and I've got these kind of loose looking like stitches all over the place. I know that when I wash it and block it, it might but see this? They're everywhere, and I'm pretty sure it's the needle. I'm pretty convinced I'm going to pull this out, but I would start it again, and I would probably go down to a 4.5, maybe even a 4. I don't know. I have plenty of both yarns, so and I'll just what I'll do is probably just do an extra repeat in each section, just to make it a little bit bigger. But these colorways, my gosh, you probably cannot really see the sparkle. So this is an Australian dyer. Her name is Olive May Yarns, and she's actually here in the Blue Mountains as well, which is, I'm an advocate for Australian makers, and particularly from the Blue Mountains. So this is 75 merino, 20% nylon and 5% stellina, but the sparkle is unbelievable. It's not showing up out here, which is a shame. But beside the sparkle is the feel of this yarn. It is the softest, it feels like cashmere. It is the softest, it is just so soft. And for only being 75% wool, it's unbelievable. The colorway is just gorgeous. So it's called Breaking Waves, and it is such a great describer of those colors. So you can imagine the sands churning in the bottom of the bottom of the I guess the ocean floor, and then the blue and white, the waves on top. It's just beautiful. And then I have a contrasting, it's not a high contrast. I really wanted to play on the theme of the wave crests, and have used Sweet Georgia Tough Love Sock, and that's birch, which is one of my favorite colorways, and you just can't go wrong. You cannot go wrong. And I've got a little tiny nugget of this because it's a whole other story. That's the Breaking Waves. So I have another skein and a half of this one. So I have a 2-year-old that likes to unravel things. So he unraveled the cake, which is fine. It's only wool. It can be wound back up again. Okay, so that's that. I'm definitely, now I've pulled that out, I think I'm definitely going to pull that out and do it on a smaller needle. Okay, so with the Beekeeper cardigan, sorry, let me just grab this swatch again. As I said, I don't do gauge swatches because I'm a rebel and I like to kind of, make my own rules. But I'm glad I did, because I thought, well, I've done it, I may as well block it and see if I got gauge, and I did not. I did not. I needed to go up a needle size. No, I didn't. I needed to go down a needle size. And so that's two things now that I've knit where it's been really loose, and maybe I am. I don't know. You know, you hear people talk about gauge changing for them as time goes on, and I would rather be tighter than loose because I would prefer the firmer looking fabric. But anyway, I've gone down. I think it calls for a 4.5, and I've gone down to, or did I go up? No, I went down. I think it called maybe, anyway, whatever. I'm using a 4.5. I hope that I changed the needle size now. I'm not sure. I'll have to check that later. Because if not, I'm going to need to, or it's going to be too big, because I can't insert a picture here because I don't know how to do that. But it's a, have a look at the cardigan. It's beautiful. I really would highly recommend it. Just the cut, the shaping of it is just gorgeous. So, that's it for my, I guess, my bigger items. I have, like I mentioned on my introduction, a gazillion socks, and I'm not ashamed of that. Oh my god, I need to get my eyebrows waxed. And my coffee's going cold. I'm not ashamed of all the socks that I have on the needles, and I recommend that you just do what you want for you. If that's what you want, do it. So I'm just going to pull out a few. Now I do use project bags, so this is a Mrs. Brown's bags sock sack. That's what I call it, a ball sack. I do use some. I do make my own as well, and I also buy these funky little zipper cases. They're kind of waterproof, and they, you know, these are the ones that I probably wouldn't chuck in my handbag to take with me because they're a bit firmer and take up more room, but these kind of ones I would. I don't know, they're just funny. Hellraiser, I could be a bit of a rebel when I want to be. Okay, so this sock, my goodness, I do my socks 2 at a time. So let me just chuck that down there. So there are 2 on these needles. So these are Addi red lace needles, 2.5 millimeter. So I do them 2 at a time. So I'm in the middle of doing the slip stitch heel on one sock over here. So what I will do is actually continue working this heel on this sock. I'll leave this one hanging out over the side here. Then what I'll need to do is drop the needles from, so move this sock over, drop these needles completely, and then I'll either use, I'll either move this sock to a set of DPNs just on hold while I do this, which is probably what I'll do. That's what I normally do, and I'll get to my faltering on that in a second, but that's what I normally do, and that's probably what I will do. So this is the Apple Blossom sock by Curious Handmade, Helen Stewart, and I adore oh my goodness. So the yarn is Lorna's Laces, and it's a shepherd sock, and I cannot remember the colourway, and I keep, look, I have a padded like envelope, quite a big padded envelope that every ball band off any skein yarn I use goes into, and there's like several missing, so I don't know what I've done with them, and this is one of them. So I can't remember the colourway, and I really, really apologise. It is beautiful. I love it. So my son bought me this for Mother's Day. This blue's not really, it actually looks brighter a little bit. So those brighter pops that are kind of along here and here look brighter. It's got like an olivey green and a mid blue in it as well, and it's just gorgeous. So that's that. And then the heel, the contrast, so I just do contrasting heel and toes on these ones, just doing a slip stitch heel. So I do 64 where did I get that from? I do 56 stitch sock. I have a really small foot. I wear a child size 3. It is whatever. It just, I have small feet. So I will do I'll do a heel flap and gusset with a, yeah, wedge or a rounded toe. I'll see what I feel like once I get there. So I've done 3 repeats on the lace pattern. 4 repeats on the lace, no, 3. Yep, 3 on the lace pattern, and then I've gone in, I don't like long socks, I like my socks to be shorter. I don't know, I have a thing with having things around my ankles. I don't like it, so I like my socks to be shorter, so that's what I'll do. And then the yarn that I'm using for the heel is Sweet Georgia Tough Love sock in Lady Grey, like one of my favorite colors ever, and the yarn is just beautiful, same as the birch. They're just lovely to work with. It's just lovely. And really good thing is, being a Canadian yarn company, the Canadian and the Australian dollar are almost identical. I think they are stronger. I think they might be $1.1, not a dollar, not 0.1 as in a cent, so 0.1 as in whatever that is, the decimal before a cent. So that is that one. So I can't wait till they're done. So all the socks that I'm going to show you, except for one pair, they're just socks that I'm making for myself. So this yarn has been put in, pulled out, put in, pulled out, ripped in, ripped out, like of so many things that I'm like, no, I don't want to make that, no, I'm sick of making that. It has been a Hoey Locatelli's bobble cowl, it has been socks, it has been so many different things. I just have not been able to decide what to do with it, and it's not, you know, oh, there we go. Okay, so this is Malabrigo sock, and the colorway is Solace, and it's just the greens and blues, it's just beautiful, super soft. It's 100% superwash. So I was using it for socks, and I thought, I don't care, I'm not tough on my socks, I'm not going to, I'm going to use it. It has no nylon, but I'm not going to let that stop me. So I just bought, I had a couple of mini little Lolos, I keep saying little low lows. So that's, is it It's Amore, I think, and Beauty School Dropout. And what I've done, just for a bit of fun for myself, is I have done a stripe. So again, they're 2 at a time, and I've done the cuffs, and I've started the heel on one. So I do 20 rows for my cuff, and then so I've got a little blip of the Beauty School Dropout in this one, and then I do 10 rows for the shorty sock, and geez, it's so lovely. It's just so lovely. So then I've started the heel on this sock, and yeah, I'm showing you something in the middle of a heel, which is ridiculous, but it's in the middle of a heel for a reason. This is a short row heel, a pattern that I bought from Lola Did It, and she has a tutorial on this, and I just get holes no matter what I do. Following her tutorial, I get holes between the slips where you've slipped the stitch. Oh, sorry, what am I showing? You get holes between, so here where you pick up, or you knit 2 together. So she has you, I won't go into what she has you do, but she has you do something where you're closing up this hole. It doesn't work for me. It works for her, and I've watched the tutorial and it's working for her, but for me, it's not working. And I don't know what to do. So I'm going to try, my mother-in-law suggested knitting through the back loop of the stitch and seeing if that closes the hole up rather than knitting through the front. I'm going to try that. If that doesn't work, I'm going to pull this heel out because it's on, I have a lifeline in, and I will pull it out and just do a slip stitch, heel flap and gusset, and be done with it. But what I've done is I've alternated. So the other sock was a pink stripe, and I'll do a orange heel on this one, and then this sock here will have an orange heel and a pink toe. Did that make sense? Because it didn't sound right to me. But anyway, that's what I'm going to do. So I'll give it one more chance, and if that doesn't kind of work out, then I'll give up and pull it out. I'm all for trying new things, but that is not working for me. And there's a couple that I've tried. I've also tried someone else's, I think it might be the Knitting Expat. She does a German short row heel as well, and I've tried that, and it's the same thing. It's just picking up, when I come back and knit those 2 stitches together, I get a very messy seam, and I don't like it. I really don't like the look of it. But anyway, so this is, I generally do 2 at a time. I pull one sock to the end of the needle, and work on the heel on one, take that sock off, put it on DPNs on hold, work the second heel, put them both together and continue in two at a time. And for some reason I took this, no, this is right. So that's what I've done. I've put this sock that has the heel, so the heel's done. So this one is done, and I'm not doing any contrast in this one. I'm just doing straight. I might do a different toe. I may do a different coloured toe once I get down there, but we'll see. So this one is just sitting on another set of needles whilst I'm working the heel on this sock. So this is a sock that I started not too long ago actually. I started this whilst I was on bed rest in January. I was pregnant with Caitlin. So this is a Sweet Georgia Tough Love sock, and this is Mirror Pond is the colourway. And my daughter Taylor, who's 22, she bought this for me for my birthday as a surprise. So, and I have to correct, because I said yesterday that my family doesn't care about my knitting, and that's not true. They're not excited about my knitting as I am, but there's only so much I can kind of talk to them about. But they are very thoughtful in that they buy me knitted related, knitted related items for birthdays and Christmas. Like my sons bought me a set of Zing circulars, interchangeable circulars last year for Mother's Day, so they care. They do care about, they're very, and my husband in particular, very supportive. And I didn't want to tell him that I was thinking about podcasting, because I kind of didn't know what he'd think, or kind of if he thought that was a bit silly of me to do, and who does she think she is, kind of thing. Which, whatever, I don't really care if people think that way about me, because it doesn't affect me. What people think of me is none of my business. So I showed him the video before I uploaded it, the introduction video that I'd done last night. Huge headache trying to do that, let me tell you. But he was really proud. He said, it's great. You want to be able to talk to talk to people about knitting, and you're going to, hopefully get the feedback that you want. So, which, I don't know what I want. I think I just want to be able to, like a virtual journal in some ways. And, people tune in, great. And like I said yesterday, if they don't, then that's fine. So this is one of those wool bands that I can't find anywhere. This is another one. This is, I'm at the same stage as I was with the other sock that I've taken the heel that I finished and put it on to different needles, except I've done it in reverse. So this is one of those, is it Schoppel Admiral Druck German, sock balls kind of thing. I think that's what you'd call them. I can't find the band, so I can't remember. It's just a self-striping, one of those ones. So this one's done. I've done the heel. So all my socks are generally 56 stitches, except for this sock. For some reason, I have no idea why. I was knitting in the car the other day, so I'm doing just the heel flap at the moment, and I'll talk about these needles in a second. But I was doing the heel flap in the car, and I thought I had dropped a stitch. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Now, my eyesight, as I'm getting older, I just need to go. Okay, so my eyesight has gotten ridiculously bad with age. I'm in denial. I think I need to go to progressive glasses or multifocals, but whatever. For the life of me, I could not find the stitches that I had supposedly dropped on this sock, and then I thought I'm going to have to pull the whole heel out because I couldn't find them and redo the heel again, and I didn't want to do that. I really didn't want to do that. So I thought I'll just count the stitches on the other sock and see where I'm at. 52 stitches. I hadn't dropped anything. There was 26 on the heel flap that I was counting. Couldn't find where the 2 stitches, and that's why, because for some reason I've done 52 stitches instead of 56. No idea why, but I'm going to roll with that, and hopefully they will fit me, because the socks that I've already made are all 56 stitches, and they loosen up with a little bit of washing. So again, the Lady Grey Sweet Georgia, beautiful color, love it, love it, love it. Oh, the heel. So on this sock, I've taken it off the Two at a Time needle, so off the Magic Loop needle, and I'm using these the Addi Crazy Trio, which I know they're called something else in other parts of the world, but here in Australia they're the Crazy Trio needles. So you get the 3 needles in the pack. You get the Turbo and the Rocket tips, and I just thought, well, I'll give them a go to see how the heel is. And of course, I was anticipating. So my other sock needles are generally all Addis. They're all generally all Addis. So I think I have 2 needles that are ChiaoGus, which I love. I absolutely love those needles. Like, they're fixed circulars, not the little minis. I haven't got my hands on those yet. But anyway, these are fine. I've seen a lot of people saying they don't like them. They're just bizarre, they're weird, but I think for doing the slip stitch heel with 2 at a time and not having to take them, so the idea would be that I wouldn't have to actually take them off the needle. I should have been able to just leave them on the front and then just work the back, which is what I would do with DPNs. So I just leave it on the front, work the back, and then come back and work the 4 DPNs around to do the sock, which I'll do that when I came to here and then slip it back onto the other needle. Does that make sense? But anyway, I don't mind them. Would I use them all the time for a pair of socks from beginning to end? No, because I would not get the second sock done. I know I wouldn't. I know that I need to do them at the same time, not even concurrently. I don't think I can even do them concurrently. And I have an example of why that is, because I'm hopeless. I just get, oh, something shiny goes past and I get distracted. Okay, so here is why I do not do concurrent sock knitting. I am stuck. I just have zero. So I don't mind the 9-inch circulars. These are ChiaoGu circulars. I don't mind these at all. I've got small hands, so using them is not an issue. But it's doing this, then I've got to go back and do this, then I've got to go back and do this and do this and do this. If I was doing 2 at a time, it wouldn't even be an issue. I'd just be going round and round and round and round and get it done. And it is so much faster doing 2 at a time. And these are 72 stitches. My son has huge feet. Doing the 2 at a time isn't like I sign up for it. I know what I'm getting into, but this is a headache. It's a headache. So this is a Crazy Zorba ball. So I split them in 2. I don't know what the colourway is. I don't know where that, like I said, I've had tag. I don't know where they're gone. I cannot find them. The colours aren't really ringing true in here, and I really apologise. It's so funny because it's not until you deconstruct or use one of these in your knitting that you realise that, I didn't realise that colour would be in there. I didn't realise that colour would be in there. So we were really kind of, we're taken back every time we do a Zorba ball, actually, with the colours in there. I have one that's called Parrot, and I've split in 2, and I don't know what I'm going to do because one sock's going to be blue and yellow and the other is going to be red and green. But that's just the way it is. Now, these is my last pair of socks I'm going to show you. I've got more, but they're only just been cast on. There's no point. Really? No point at all. I think that's everything. Oh, I've got a pair down there as well. So these are hardly started at all. I've hardly done anything. This is Hedgehog Fibres in Film Noir in their twist sock. This is actually another one of those, another yarn that I've used, I've pulled out of, I don't know what I'm going to do, don't know what I'm going to do. But anyway, I don't particularly like, I like the colourway, love the colourway. Do I like the feel of the texture of the material that it knits when it knits up? Not particularly. It is BFL, and that's not why. It's not, it's got a really high twist, and that's not why I don't like it. I don't know. I don't know if it's that there's been such an online hype created around Hedgehog Fibres that, I kind of rushed out and I bought it and I had to have it, and it just hasn't kind of lived up to, it just hasn't lived up to what I had created in my head. So these tonals, these are 75% wool and 25% nylon or polyamide. So these are Wendy Rome, so they're just a West Yorkshire tonal colour, And I just use them for contrasting heels, toes, and it is showing up really purple on screen. It's actually browner than that. But anyway, they're really soft and they're just lovely. So they've got little interesting little blips of colour right through them as well, like little bits of red and blue here and there and everywhere. So they're great just to have on hand to use for the contrasting when I want to do it. Okay, so my last sock. Just want to show you a couple more things, and I'm trying to keep this to an hour because it took me forever to upload the last one. So this is a Lolo Did It. This is Honeydukes. This is one of the first hand dyed yarns that I had purchased like a year and a half ago, or whenever I got the idea that I was going to do socks, and I bought this. So this is her Honeydukes colorway, and this is on her everyday sock, and I love it. I got 2 skeins of this. So I have this skein. This is one half of the skein, and I have another one because I split all of my skeins because I do the 2 at a time. But I thought that because I love my Zing interchangeable needles, I thought that I would buy some Zing DPNs and see what I thought about those, because I have Carbons DPNs, and I've only really just cast on. Little tiny 2 rows, if that. I love them. I love them as much as I love the interchangeables. It feels like I'm wrestling an echidna. You know, spine's kind of sticking out everywhere, and I'm going to get a quill in the eye at any moment. But it's because it's not something that I'm used to. I don't do DPN sock knitting. Generally, I use my DPNs for heels. I use them for hat decreases and picking up stitches and with that, you know, things like that. But yeah, it's interesting. I thought I'd give it a go, and I'm going to go and buy another set this week because I know I'm going to end up in sock hell, and I really would like to get these socks on my feet. Just so bright and pretty and awesome and soft and squishy, and smells great. Smells of my lavender sachets that I kind of tend to have everywhere. So that's the last pair that I'm showing, and there's probably about 4 or 5 more pairs that I have only literally cast on, and that is it. And a gazillion balls in my stash that I have already paired off and wound into cakes ready to go. So the last thing I wanted to talk about, or to show you, first of all, the cutest little seagrass baskets ever, and they're really, really, really cool, I think, as far as kind of home decor stuff goes, because it pulls out, let me just fix this, into a larger basket. So you can have it as the bowl, or you can have it as the basket, and it holds so much stuff. So that sits beside my couch, and the projects that I'm working on in their project bags kind of sit in that, and I pull them out as I'm working away, and yeah, it's good fun. Anyway, sachet bags everywhere. And my last name is Lavender, so it's a bit weird. I have a love of lavender, and it's my last name. I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg. Okay, so I am going to just whip up a couple more project bags for myself. I don't have any inclination to do anything else with them but use them for me. So this is a denim. It's a cotton to look like a denim. So it's, I guess it's called like a cotton duck is the fabric. So it's just the fluoro pink and the denim-y kind of background. So cute. And I have these little eyelash, they're upside down, these little eyelash, I'm hoping you're not getting a ghosting image, because I'm seeing a ghosting image because of the sun reflecting back off me, and I apologise. I only just realised that. So it is so cute. So it's actually metallic silver little eyelashes all over the fabric, which is really, really cool. So I'm going to, so that'll be the lining fabric for this one. And I'm just going to make, this will be a drawstring bag, like to hold a jumper and like a jumper's quantity of yarn. I don't say sweater because I'm Australian, so we say jumper, in case you're wondering. So I have that one. Then I also have this, which is so sweet. So sweet. So it's just the red cherries. And it's just, it'll have the contrasting cotton lining. It'll be the same. This will be 2 smaller bags, like for socks. So a couple of little ball bags. Yeah, excited to make those. And then other thing that I have, which I'm going to make a couple of bigger bags, zippered bags, is some Star Wars fabric. So my husband and I are massive. We actually had a Star Wars themed wedding for our wedding, which was so much fun. So much fun. I was a lot smaller than I am now. And I dressed as Slave Leia, which was like, it was a hoot. We had so much fun. So a couple of contrasting fabrics there. I'm just going to make a few different bags. I would have had them cut out yesterday, except I don't have any interfacing. I need to go down to Spotlight to get some, but I don't really want to. Okay, so that is it for all my bits and pieces and work and stuff that I've been doing. I wanted to make that comment about, which I have done. I've just written a couple of things down here about my family actually are supportive. So when I said that they don't care, that's really not correct. And no one said anything to me, but my husband and my son watched the introduction that I'd done. And when I had watched it with her, I felt awkward. And that is like a tell to me that, you know, I should have provided more detail around that. That it wasn't that I thought that they're not supportive. It's just that, you know, they're not knitters. It's not their thing. But my husband has always been very, very supportive of everything that I've done. So as I mentioned, I live in the Blue Mountains, which is a national park, and it is just glorious, and it is very, very well known for being an artistic community. So the mountain area, all the villages run up the highway that goes through the mountains. So there's lots of small villages. And the village that I live in is Warramoo, and I'm in the lower mountains, and then we move to the mid mountains, and then there's the high mountains, and then you're going over the mountains. So the mountain range is called the Great Dividing Range. So it runs from along the east coast of down through Queensland and New South Wales. It is in some areas, as you go further down to the south coast of New South Wales, which is the state that I live in, there's some alpine regions and but most of it is kind of tablelands, and it has like a temperate climate, and you know, but where I am, it's particularly cold. We have particularly cold winters and really, really, really hot, scorching summers. So it's a beautiful place. It attracts a lot of tourists, of bushwalkers in particular, canyoners, you know, all those kind of outdoor activities. It's not a snowing ski field area. When we do have snowfall, it's not that heavy, and it's not where I am. And we're only at 279 meters elevation, so it's further up the mountains where it's over 1,000 meters is where it snows. Not deep enough for snowing. So our snow fields are in the south, the southern part of New South Wales and going into Victoria. So our snowfields are there, and that's where we get snow and the tourists that ski and snowboard and all of that, but not here. But it is autumn and spring are my favourite times of year, particularly here. I've lived in the mountains for 10 years. I'm originally from the south coast, from Wollongong, which is a town on the coast. A town on the coast, on the south coast. So I had a tree change and came up to where the mountains are, and I just love it. Okay, so I said it's well known for the artistic community, but there is one yarn store, and it is like over an hour away from me up the mountain, and it's not the kind of place you go. For me, the town's Blackheath, and I can't even think of the name of the yarn store. I apologise. I have some tags for yarn for them in my envelope, but it's down in my craft room. If I remember, I'll put the information in below, but it's the only one, and it's all Australian merino yarn that they sell, blended with silks and mohairs and stuff. And you know, it's lovely, but it's not the kind of stuff that I kind of gravitate towards. But that's it. We have nothing else other than the local yarn store, which is down in like one of the Sydney suburbs closest to me, which is Penrith. there is nothing. So I do most of my shopping online, the stuff that I really, really want. I just wanted to say one last thing. I've just gone over an hour, so I'll quickly wrap it up. I wanted to just say one last thing. When I talk about crafting to assist mental wellness, I just want to be really sure that if people are struggling emotionally and do have issues with anxiety and depression, please don't take my views as I guess gospel. If you need to seek out treatment or specialist care, please do that before you drop everything and then just start knitting to try and assist you where you're at, because what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for everybody, and I certainly wouldn't want anybody to kind of be saying that it's meant to, it does help me, is what I'm saying. Is it works for me. What works for me, and I'm an advocate for that. I'm an advocate for creativity assisting in mental wellness and helping with mindfulness and taking you out of yourself and also grounding you and keeping you present. But I don't want that to be misconstrued. So that's, if that makes sense, that's kind of what I'm saying. Anyhow, I have a huge mess at my feet, and I want to do some knitting before I go and pick up Ewan from daycare, and before Caitlin wakes up again. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to pick up this mess so the kids can have their toy room back, and let my son, he did the editing, which was like no editing, but he did the editing for me last night and helped me do what had to be done to get my introduction out. So I'm dressed today. My hair is washed. My hair is, semi done. And thank you if you've come along to watch, and hopefully I'll see you again. Hopefully I can do this again. It's good to sit here and I feel silly in some ways when I think about it. If I kind of put myself out of myself and think about it, it's a bizarre thing to be doing, and my husband's probably on the other side of the door sniggering. No, he's having a nap. He was up this morning at 5 o'clock for an early class with his clients, so he's having a nap. But anyway, enjoy it. I loved it. I feel like I've gotten some stuff off my chest about my knitting that I'm not going to be bombarding everyone in my house about, and they'll probably feel real thankful for that, because I get this glazed over look for them sometimes, like, what is she talking about? Anyhow, I appreciate you stopping by if you have, and if you haven't, maybe next time. Take care.